So the representative of George Washington University School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, the Katherine Hugins, and Assistant Director of International Admissions, today is here with us, and she will be presenting on internship and work experience, covering CPT, OPT, and STEM extensions. So Katherine, welcome again and good morning. So the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction, Ramila. Good evening, everybody. If my time calculations are correct, it should be about 5 or 6 p.m. for all of you. For comparison's sakes, it's pretty early on the East Coast for me. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. So I appreciate you all taking the time to come listen to me speak on a Saturday evening when you could be doing other things if you wanted. Like Ramila said, my name is Katherine Hugins, and I am the Assistant Director of International Graduate Admissions at the George Washington University School of Engineering and Applied Science. I'm not going to go into too much detail about GW. If you'd like to learn more about my school or our programs, please feel free to come chat with me in our booth after the session is over. But just to give you a sense of the university, I wanted to share some fun facts about our school. We were founded in 1821 by an act of Congress, and we have about 25,000 enrolled students. About 10,000 of those are undergraduate students, while the remaining 15,000 are graduate. And last, we're located in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And pretty unsurprisingly, partly due to our location, we have a lot of students who enroll at GW because they want to pursue internship and work experiences during their studies. So I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about some pretty big topics, and we're going to hopefully break them all down so that they're more manageable, just as easy to understand as their acronyms, which are CPT, OPT, and STEM extension. Now, if you don't know what those letters stand for, no worries. We're going to go over each of these options for the next 30 minutes. So to start, CPT, or curricular practical training. CPT is specifically permission granted to F1 students to engage in an alternative work study, like an internship, off campus during your degree program. The most important thing to keep in mind about CPT is that it has to be related to your field of study. So for example, if you're a computer science student and you get a job offer from McDonald's, so long as it's to do with computer programming, you can be approved for CPT. The reason why your job offer has to be related to your degree program is because the purpose of the CPT program is for you to gain practical experience in your field of study while you're still taking courses in your degree program. In fact, along with the requirement that it has to be directly related to your major, CPT must also be one of two things. It either has to be required to complete your degree program, so an internship or practicum that is an established part of your curriculum and something you have to complete so that you can graduate, or it has to be an integral part of your curriculum. That's a little awkward phrasing sometimes and a little bureaucratic, but what that means is that it has to provide you with an opportunity to learn and have you receive academic credit or have it be reflected on your academic transcript in some way. So if it's an opportunity to gain practical experience in your field of study outside of the classroom, that qualifies to allow you to apply for CPT. So we've talked a little bit about what CPT is, but how do you qualify? First, you have to be enrolled consecutively as a full-time student for the equivalent of 1 academic year or 2 full semesters. Something to keep in mind and something to make sure that you speak to your DSO at your institution is at GW, for example, the summer term does not count as a full semester since it's a shorter term. So that means if you begin your studies in the fall semester and you enroll in fall and spring, you become eligible for CPT that first summer break. But if you begin your studies in the spring semester, so you arrive in January, then you have to complete the spring semester, go through the summer, complete the fall semester, and then you'll be eligible for CPT the following spring. That's what an academic year is qualified as at GW. Again, this is something that you need to make sure to speak directly about with your designated school official at whatever institution you end up attending. But that's just something to note and to think about when you're applying to school and thinking about what semester you'd like to start in. Next, you have to be in valid F1 status. So that means you have to be meeting the requirements of your visa and maintaining your record with the help of your designated school official. So those will typically include being enrolled in a full course load of classes, making sure that you're registering with the DSO every semester, checking in, getting the appropriate signatures when needed. And again, this is really important that you're working directly with your DSO, with your International Services Office, that you're coordinating with them and making sure that you're on top of everything you need to be on top of. And last, to be eligible for CPT, you have to have already received an eligible job offer that meets the requirements we already discussed. So again, that means it has to be related to your field of study. So like I mentioned, that McDonald's job, if it's in computer programming and that's what you're studying, great, but you can't work for McDonald's if they're hiring you to manage their, front window and take orders. That's not computer science related. So you've met all the requirements and you get the job offer. What does that mean for you? How long can you work? If it's during the academic year, you are limited to 20 hours per week. That's because the US government and your university wants to ensure that you're focused on your academic studies first and foremost, and that you do well in school. However, if it's an official school break or holiday, like the summer break, you're eligible to participate in CPT full-time, so over those 20-hour minimum. And don't forget that CPT needs to be authorized on a semester by semester basis. So if you take this job and you work there for a semester and they ask you to stay on and work for another semester, you can certainly do that, but you need to make sure that you need to apply for CPT authorization each time. Last, something really important to remember. If you engage in 12 or more months of full-time CPT at your current program level, you will not be eligible for OPT when you complete your studies. So that can be a little confusing, but basically if you do more than 12 months of full-time CPT, so during your academic studies, you work for more than 12 months full-time, at the end of that degree program, you will not be eligible to apply for OPT. And I know we're going to talk about OPT a little bit later, but it is something to keep in mind. So typically we recommend that students only participate in CPT for 1 or 2 academic semesters at most, so that they can keep that option for OPT open and available to them once they complete their program. There are a lot of extenuating circumstances that might shape your exact situation. You might have a program that you're unsure. You might get a job offer and you might think it's related to your program, but you might have questions. And that's why we always stress that you should consult with your DSO at your institution throughout the process. They're going to be there to help guide you through every part of this journey. For you, it's a new adventure, one that you're stepping into for the very first time. But for your DSO, they have a lot of experience helping students just like you through the same process. So make sure that you turn to them as a resource to help you, and make sure that you're asking them questions and checking in if you ever need any help, because that's what they're there to do. We want you to succeed in your studies. We want you to succeed in your work experience, and they're there to help you. Now, we just spoke about CPT, which is for during your academic program, but let's talk about optional practical training, or OPT. OPT is one of the most popular training opportunities for F1 students. It's a form of employment, often paid, that provides you with on-the-job training related to your degree. The most common form of OPT, and the one I'm going to be talking to you about today, is post-completion OPT, which is exactly what it sounds like. Post-completion OPT essentially happens after you graduate and complete your program. OPT has similar eligibility requirements as CPT. You must be maintaining your active F1 status for at least 2 consecutive semesters or 1 full academic year. So like I mentioned at GW, that's going to be the spring and fall semesters, or fall and spring. Summer is never going to count as a full semester. Like I mentioned before, you cannot have used more than 12 months of full-time CPT. And you have to be physically present in the United States during the application process and apply within a specific permissible period. I promise I'll get to that in a moment. I have a great big timeline that you guys can take notes on and to take a look at, and we'll go over it in detail, but that's just something to note. There's a very specific time period that you're allowed to apply for OPT. Something to keep in mind, and something that we stress to a lot of students, is that during the application process, your university recommends you for OPT, but it's up to the US government to approve your OPT application. Just because you've received a recommendation from your university does not guarantee USCIS approval. So that's just something to note. Once you've submitted the application, you do need to wait to get that actual approval. If you are approved for OPT, you can receive up to 12 months of work authorization for each degree level you earn in the United States. What does that mean? Basically, if you were to come to the US for your studies and you were to earn a bachelor's, then a master's, and a doctoral degree, you would be eligible to receive up to 12 months of work authorization, or OPT, after each graduation, totaling to about 3 years. So at the end of your bachelor's degree, you could use 1 year of OPT. At the end of your master's degree, you could use 1 year of OPT. And at the end of your doctoral degree, you could use 1 year of OPT. OPT is a use it or lose it offering. So that means if you graduate from your bachelor's degree in the spring and immediately begin a master's program in the fall, you would be forfeiting that year of work experience. You can't get it back at a later time. You can't finish your bachelor's degree and decide not to use OPT and then finish your master's and go, okay, now I get 2 years of OPT, right? No. And that's, again, like I mentioned before, because there are strict rules for when you can apply for OPT. And I'm gonna share with you this timeline. So feel free to take a screenshot or a picture on your phone, however you'd like it. We're gonna talk about it in a little bit more detail. So like I just mentioned, there are those strict rules about when you can apply for OPT. Specifically, you can begin the application process up to 90 days before graduation, or 3 months prior to your program end date listed on your I-20. So your program end date will be clearly identified on that I-20 document. Most often, like I just said, it's going to be the date of your graduation, but it might be a little different. You can apply for OPT up to 90 days before that, not 91. If you apply 91 days before, that application will be rejected. And then the deadline for USCIS to receive your full and complete OPT application is no more than 60 days after your program end date. This is known as the 60-day grace period. During the application process, you'll work with your DSO to determine a specific OPT start date. This start date cannot be outside of that 60-day grace period. So it has to be after you graduate, but before those 60 days end. Keep in mind that if you are approved for OPT, you are not allowed to start work until you have received your employment authorization document and until that start date on the card has arrived. Once you're approved, you can work up to 12 months on OPT for at least 20 hours a week or more, so long as you continue to keep your DSO up to date with your current employment information and your address and all of the necessary information so that they can keep your record active in CVIS and so that you are still maintaining your F1 visa during your employment. OPT is not the same as sponsorship, and it doesn't cost your employer thousands of dollars to hire you. Most of the work is actually on you to ensure that you're approved for OPT and that you're maintaining your status. It's a paper process, which can be a little tedious, but like I said when we were discussing CPT, work closely with your DSO. They are there to help you and to make this process as easy as possible. Now, like I said, OPT is up to 12 months of work experience, and this is available for all F1 students who earn a degree at a US institution and maintain their F1 status. At the end of those 12 months, and you've reached your employment end date listed on your EAD card, for many of you, you'll have a 60-day grace period to transfer to another school, change to a different visa category, or depart from the United States. But for some of you qualify for the STEM OPT extension. First, what is STEM? If you've never heard of it, we very much like our acronyms, obviously. But STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The STEM extension is, again, exactly what it sounds like. F1 students who have earned a degree in a select few STEM programs are eligible to apply for an additional 24 months of OPT after completing the basic 12 months that we just talked about. So all F1 students who attend university in the US and earn a degree are eligible to apply for that OPT for 12 months. And then a select number of you who've earned degrees in STEM are allowed to apply for the STEM extension, which is an additional 24 months. That means those students who qualify for the STEM OPT extension will receive a total of 36 months or 3 years of work experience post-graduation. Now, as I mentioned, this is only for a select number of STEM degrees. The link on this slide provides you with a list of the eligible CIP codes for the STEM OPT extension. I know I just said we like acronyms, and here it is again. CIP stands for Classification of Instructional Program. And when you receive an I-20 from your institution, it will have a specific CIP code listed. The CIP code is the number and program name reflecting what your area of study is and what you are majoring in. Something to keep in mind is that the CIP code name may not be the exact name of your school's major, but your DSO will have carefully matched each program offered by the university with the appropriate CIP code. So, and universities are only allowed to have a certain number of CIP codes. So sometimes they'll offer more majors than they have CIP codes. So again, your DSO will carefully match each major this university offers with that code. For example, at GWCs, we offer a program in computer science. The matching CIP code is titled Computer and Information Sciences General. So sometimes when we issue the I-20 to students, we'll get students who email us back very concerned because the CIP code, the listed major, is not what they were admitted to. And what that just means is that, as I just explained, there was no appropriate matching name on the CIP code list for our program, or we didn't have access to that at the university. And so we have carefully matched computer and information sciences to computer science. So this list will provide you with all of the degree programs that are eligible for this additional 24 months of OPT. If you are accepted to a program, you can use your I-20 to check if your program, your CIP code, is one of the approved STEM extension programs by reviewing this list. Again, this is still not the same as sponsorship. Throughout your OPT, you will be maintaining your F1 status at the same institution you earned your degree from. They will maintain your CVIS record. They will provide you with travel signatures if you need to leave the country. They will update your I-20 if needed. You will still be maintaining an F1 student visa while you are completing OPT. It's only after you've reached the end of the OPT STEM extension that you need to consider sponsorship or the H-1B. Now, before we move on and allow you all to ask some questions, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you should be looking for from an American university in relation to CPT, OPT, and the STEM extension. When you're deciding what school to apply for, I strongly encourage you to take a look at their career services website. Get a sense of what type of programming they offer and who's on their staff. Do they have a career coach that can help you with strengthening your resume and improving your interview skills? Are they available to talk to you about what opportunities are available? Do they have a wide network of companies and organizations that hire students? Do they list where their alumni and current students are employed? These are things to look for, because these are all the types of things that you'll need to hone and to strengthen if you want to receive a job offer so that you can apply for CPT or OPT. Your career services office at whatever institution you attend is really going to be the people and the team that you work with to help you to find those internship and work experience opportunities. Some programming that you might want to see if they offer is, do they have fairs where they bring employers to campus? Are they providing, again, those mock interviews, those resume building opportunities for you? And again, do they publish relevant information for your program? Sometimes you can go on a website and you can type in, okay, I want to get my degree in mechanical engineering. And that career services website might actually provide you with information regarding our mechanical engineering graduates and where they were employed and what their average salary was, and if they participated in OPT or CPT. These are things to be looking for during your application process, during the time that you're considering school in the United States. Next, be sure to look at the International Services Office or the Office of International Students or whatever it might be named. But this is where the designated school officials will be working, and they're going to be the ones who help you to maintain your F1 status and make sure that you're meeting those visa regulations. And they'll assist you throughout all of these application processes that we just talked about. And they might actually already publish some relevant information regarding CPT and OPT and everything we just talked about, stuff that you can download and save and keep in mind for the future. And those resources regarding these options are really things that you should be looking for so that you can look at when you're trying to determine what school to apply for. Last, try and find public information regarding their current student population or alumni. So for example, here you can see a graphic that GWCs has published on our website that highlights our current students. In 2019, we had 514 School of Engineering and Applied students participating in CPT and OPT. 37 of these students were employed by Amazon, with other students working at places like Microsoft, IBM, Google, Apple, and many more. Information like this can give you a sense of what type of experience you might expect at a university if you enroll there. And it can give you a sense of how often this school is working with students in CPT and OPT. Do they have a lot of experience with the process? Are they going to be able to help you with your questions and help you to navigate the sometimes tricky bureaucratic paperwork and forms that you're going to have to fill out to make these applications complete? But that's the end of my prepared presentation. I hope that I've cleared some things up for you. Like I said at the beginning, I know that these topics can be a little complex and confusing, but I want to remind you that this is not the first and last and final time you'll get the opportunity to learn about it. If you do end up attending a US institution, like I said, keep an eye out for events hosted by the Career Services Office or the International Services Office. I'm sure, like GW, they'll offer plenty of workshops and presentations to go over the rules and regulations and deadlines for CPT, OPT, and the STEM extension so students can be on top of it. But now we can get to the questions that I'm sure you guys have many of. I know at the beginning I mentioned I'm the Assistant Director of International Graduate Admissions. So I'm not actually a DSO, so I can't get into very technical questions that you might have. This is just something to be aware of. But I can try and answer all of your general questions. And I'd ask that you utilize the Q&A function rather than the chat box, just so that we can try and keep track of which questions have been answered. Okay.
Thank you very much, Katherine. Thank you very much for this great information you shared, and it was very detailed and clear. So now we can go to the Q&A session, and all the attendees, if they have any questions related to the topic or to the international admissions a little bit, they can type these in Q&A or in chat if they are confident with that part. So the question here is, how much time do you have left after studies to work as a full-time student?
Yeah, great. So like we talked about a little bit already, once you've completed your degree program and you've graduated from your studies, you are eligible to apply for OPT, optional practical training, and that is eligible for 12 months. So 1 full year of work experience in the United States after you graduate. I mentioned that there was that 60-day grace period where you can submit the application. So that means that technically you have 14 months. So 12 months of work, but 14 months after you actually graduate. And at the end of those 14 months, you need to be considering applying to a new program, applying for a new visa, leaving the country, or if you're a STEM extension eligible student, applying for those additional 24 months of STEM OPT. So that would be adding up to 36 months or 3 years if you are a STEM eligible student.
I guess the upcoming questions are related to that part actually. If so if I finish computer science, I can do this, the STEM extension. If you double major, can you work for 2 years?
Okay, so I'll take this one at a time. If you double major, no, you do not get 2 years. Unfortunately, it is 1 year per degree level. So if you were, that's actually a great question. So if you were a student who went and got a master's in computer science and you did 1 year of OPT, and then you decided, you know what, I'm really passionate about engineering management. I want to get a master's in engineering management, and you went and you did that, you actually would not qualify for another year of OPT. And that's because, like I said at the beginning, you are allowed 1 year of OPT per degree level. So if you get a bachelor's degree, you get 1 year. If you get a master's degree, you get 1 year. If you get a doctoral degree, you get 1 year. It doesn't matter how many master's degrees you get, you do not get more than 1 year. So that's actually a really great question. Doesn't matter how many majors you have, how many degrees you get. If it's the same degree level, it's only that 1 year, unless, like I said, you are eligible for STEM OPT. And then again, that has to be consecutively. You need to do all the OPT at the same time. And then
very smart question actually, I think, because the person thinks like mass-brained person. So
I know,
good question. Thank you for that. And thank you for clarifying, Katherine.
And then regarding the second question for computer science, yes, computer science is a STEM eligible program. Actually, at the School of Engineering and Applied Science at the graduate level, all of the programs that I'm here representing today are STEM OPT extension eligible programs. So again, if you want to come talk to me in my booth after this session is over, I can talk to you about what programs we have and what are eligible for that additional 24 months. But yes, computer science is one of the programs that is eligible for the STEM OPT extension.
Great, thank you. And another question is, does your university have early decision too? And can you tell me what career opportunities you offer? Thanks for all the helpful information.
Yeah, definitely. I can answer that question. Again, I have to limit my admissions answers to the School of Engineering and Applied Science at the graduate level. GW has many colleges and many programs that are going to have different deadlines and different requirements. At my school, at the School of Engineering and Applied Science, for our graduate programs, we do not offer early admission. We have a basic deadline for each entry term. So for fall 2020, our application deadline is going to be January 15th, 2021. And the deadline for spring 2022 will be September 1st, 2021. We do not offer early admission. Like I mentioned, if you apply early, your application is going to wait around until we're ready to start reviewing applications after that deadline. And then regarding career opportunities, all of the examples I gave earlier were relevant GWC's programs, and we do have a dedicated career services office for our School of Engineering. They work closely with many employers in the DC region to bring them to campus when we're operating in person. They offer, like I mentioned, resume building, career coach, mock interviews, all of the things that you might be looking for when you want to think about career opportunities. And then, like I mentioned, we do actually provide information regarding specific programs that we offer. So if you were to look at our career services page for Cs and you wanted to look at the computer science program, we do provide a list of where our students end up being employed, what their salary range is, if they stay in the United States, if they go out of the country and return home, what companies, what types of job titles they might have. So we do offer that information. I encourage you to check out our website if you'd like.
Definitely, good job. So the question is, why are you being paid when you are in OPT, meaning the students?
Yeah, definitely. So like I said, this is sometimes OPT is paid. It's entirely dependent on the job offer you receive. You might receive a job offer that's an unpaid internship. If it meets the qualifications and it's in your area of study and USCIS approves it, OPT does not have to be paid. If it is paid, that's great. That's something you work on an individual basis with your employer, whether it's a direct deposit or if they give you a check. I'm not sure. That's a bit of a technical answer that is really dependent on what job you receive and what your employer is offering.
Great, thank you very much. And the question is, what is the minimum, what the IELTS and the SAT scores required, and do you offer full scholarship for a bachelor degree?
Okay, I can definitely try to answer this. Like I mentioned, I'm here for the graduate admissions office, so I can't actually answer any questions regarding our bachelor's programs. I do encourage you to check out the undergraduate admissions website. They do list all of the requirements and scholarship opportunities available at the bachelor's degree level. But I can say at the graduate level, at, again, the School of Engineering and Applied Science, our minimum IELTS score for most admissions is going to be an overall IELTS of 6.0 with nothing below a 5.0. For TOEFL, we're looking for a minimum of 80. And for Duolingo, we're looking for a minimum of 110. So those are just the English language requirements that we have at, again, the graduate level for the School of Engineering. Our requirements might be different for, say, the School of Arts and Sciences or the law school or the medical school. Everyone has a little bit different, so that's just something to keep in mind. And then for scholarships at the graduate level at the School of Engineering, we offer merit-based scholarships in the form of tuition discounts that are typically in the range of 25 to 50% at the master's level. That will be reviewed by our admissions team. So there's no separate application if you apply to one of our programs. You just need to check yes that you want to be considered for funding, and we'll review you for one of those merit scholarships. Again, merit meaning it's dependent on your strength as a student and as an applicant. It is not need-based. We do not take that into account. And there is no difference between if you're an international student or a domestic student. And then at the doctoral level, our doctoral applicants will actually be reviewed by the academic department specifically and the faculty, and they'll be reviewing your strengths in the applicant pool, and they'll be considering what availabilities they have, what their funding offers are. And then once, if they determine that they want to make you an offer at the doctoral level for the School of Engineering, that's typically going to come in the form of an assistantship, whether it's teaching or research, and then it'll usually include monthly stipends as well. And that typically does cover the full cost of tuition.
Thank you very much. And again, well, I think you already covered this question as well. Can you tell me about financial aid for international students? So I think this was already covered, right? Or would you like?
Like I said, at the School of Engineering graduate level, we don't offer different funding for domestic or international. It's possible that you can reach out to our student accounts office and they might offer something else. And again, our undergraduate office or other programs at the university might have different availabilities. I'm just speaking again to my area of expertise. I also know that our student accounts office does offer a payment plan so that students can make smaller payments throughout the semester instead of just one big payment at the beginning of each semester.
And the question is also, are you a private college?
Yes, we are a private university located in Washington, D.C. That's a very simple question, so thank you.
And another question is, do you offer summer programs or volunteering activities for international students?
GW does offer summer programs. We actually have a dedicated office of summer and non-degree programs. Again, I can't speak to that very specifically. I'd encourage you to check out that website. They have a dedicated staff who answers those questions and can let you know about what programs they offer. And they can also tell you about any volunteering activities and what programs they offer that are open and available to international students. At the graduate level, I can only talk to you about degree-seeking programs.
Thank you. And the interesting question coming, you mentioned H1 visa and sponsoring. Can you go into a little bit more into the details on how the OPT and STEM extension relate to getting H1 visa?
That is a great question, very complex question, not one I can speak to very deeply. What I can say is, as I mentioned, OPT, whether it's the regular 12-month OPT or the OPT STEM extension, is not sponsorship. It is not related to sponsorship. It will not impact sponsorship. It might help you to develop a relationship with an employer who then might decide that they want to pursue that avenue with you. But once that becomes something that you're working on, that's no longer part of OPT. And I don't know much about H1B. That's a great question. We do have people at the university who have much more information about that, but I unfortunately am not that person. But again, like I said earlier, you should always be speaking to your DSO at your institution, working with them, asking them questions. They're really going to be the experts on what's available to you.
Great, thank you very much for that. And the last one is, do you have any opportunities for 10th grade students? I think this is the high school student asking and interesting in bachelor's actually. So
yeah, again, so definitely I would encourage you to reach out to that office that I mentioned, the Office of Summer and Non-Degree Programs. They're really going to be the office that can tell you about what opportunities they have for short-term programs or high school programs, available summer programs, anything that's not a degree-seeking program. If you come to my booth today, I can really only answer questions about graduate programs like masters or PhDs for the School of Engineering and Applied Science. I know I keep repeating that, and you guys have great questions, and GW is a great school. I just can't know everything about it. It's very big.
that's great. Thank you very much for sharing all this useful information today with our students. And thank you very much for your time this morning, joining us, joining the fair and talking to students. I highly encourage all students to go to the university, to George Washington University chat and talk to Katherine. privately or publicly and ask the specific questions you have, write to the representative in private chats or in public chat as you wish. So thank you very much, Katherine, for joining and for sharing all this information with our students today.
Thank you so much for having me. I very much enjoyed talking to all of you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice time. Enjoy the fair.
Thank you.
Bye.